they forced me to marry my cousin over there. And when I refused the marriage, they left me behind.
Arranged marriages are almost as common among Indians today as they were a century ago. An estimated 95% of all marriages are arranged by the families.
Didn't you know that you're engaged? And I just looked at her in shock, and I was just like, but I'm 12.
Hello and welcome back to the Guy Boudreaux Radio Show. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the show. Today's topic is arranged marriages. Filmmaker Felix Stephen is joining us today, along with his lead actress, Niyante Akarya. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. But they are here to discuss the ins and outs of the film Breaking Tradition. So maybe you can share with us, Felix, what gave you the idea and, really the guts to do a full feature film about arranged marriages?
Well, the story bit is just the incidents that occurred in my life, But the film actually came about when Mike Irby said, "Get off your ass and make the damn thing." Primarily, my driving force was when I had seen what changes can happen when people get educated. I was like, no, we got to make this bigger and bigger. And so I just started looking at various avenues to fund this thing, and the film is one. I have a book also coming out at the same time. That'll be another. So that's really how it started.
Okay, and how long did it take you to pull all the actors together? And did you have any actors that were reluctant to be involved in this particular film?
Oh yeah, we've had producers drop out. We've had actors drop out. We've had actors demand to be on the film. We've had actors pester us to no end to be on the film.
Interesting.
So we've had it both ways. We've had before Niyanta came 6 months ago, we had selected another actress, but then when she really realized the full weight of the script, she backed out. It took us 6 months after that to find Niyanta.
Wow, so it was a pretty tough go at finding that lead female in this particular.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oddly enough, Niyanta, the whole time I knew I would meet Farina without having to speak to her.
Huh.
I don't know. I just said, because I've been auditioning for so long, sometimes faces were looking similar, and things like that, and it was really confusing for a while. And then and I was also doing rewrites at the same time. So, and finally Farina gelled again on in the script. And I told myself, oh, I know now. I'll walk into Farina somewhere. And sure enough, when you walked in, even though all the mishaps, it worked out.
Even though there's a story, yeah.
Well, I want to hear the story. What types of mishaps?
Oh, God. No, I just had a bad audition. That's the story.
Bad is putting it mildly.
Yeah. Sometimes you hit it. Sometimes you miss it, And that day, yeah, it was just, yeah.
Okay, this is what happened. Okay, we had been auditioning for 6 months now, on and off for 6 months looking for her. She's walking in. As soon as she walks in the room, I go, I think we've got a great prospect. So when she shows up, I see that she's nervous, but, I just think, well, let's just get into the reading of it. Forget the first read, go right into the second one. Obviously, she'd prepared the first one, not thinking we'd go right into the second one. So she really flummoxed it. The whole team that was sitting there at the table, everybody was shocked that I would give her another read after that. And then they were even more shocked when she walked out the door that I said we're going to see her a second time. And then in the second read, when she sat down and did Farina, they were all convinced. And then I wasn't convinced because they were convinced.
Oh, God, yeah. You got to do that, huh?
Yeah, well, I just had to make sure, but then I've looked at an hour and 40 minutes. We've cut the whole thing, and it's 2 hours and 42 minutes right now. We'll cut it down, but yeah, you certainly come through. I'm glad I picked. you know.
I mean, yeah, for me, once I found out the story, because I remember the second time I met with you is when you actually talked to me and told me about the story, because I hadn't read the script. Even though I had the script, I hadn't read it. But when you explained the story to me, of course, it sunk in, like, because it's such a beautiful story, and to experience that, it sunk in, and for me, that's when it just clicked, and I was able to be Farina at the second audition.
Nayanta, where are you from?
Yes, I was born in Nepal.
Okay, and did you have any reservations about the topic in regards to the full feature film?
No, not so much, because when I read it, I looked at it as a love story, foremost, more than anything, It was just about a girl who, I don't know, she's looking for love, and she's looking to find out who she is in relation to herself and her father and her stepmother, and now this boy who comes into her life and who loves her, and she loves him back, That's just how I looked at it, and everything else is just a consequence of what she decides to do, I don't think that's what the movie's about. I think the movie's just like a love story and about a girl, who moves to a different country, and everything's so new to her. She wants to learn. She wants to learn every single thing. And she sees how people, like other women, behave. Her best friend, how she behaves, and she kind of wants to experience that, and not just be one certain way.
So, Felix, what do you hope to achieve with this particular film?
Well, one, certainly, if I can get half the audience crying, if not enraged, by the end of the movie, I think we're well on our way.
Well, let's go a little bit deeper into the whole arranged marriage thing. I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. Nayanta, correct?
Nayanta. Yeah, you're almost getting there.
I'm almost there. Give me some story. Give me some stories you've heard about that has moved you into maybe throwing a different or a little more energy into the character while you're performing.
Right, in terms of just arranged marriage or tradition or... Well,
tradition, arranged marriage, because ultimately we're all here, I think, as individuals in terms of when they cut the umbilical cord, we become that individual. But as we live within certain social norms, we are made to believe certain things. So aside from it being a really good script and a really good topic, what about this particular film drove you, and did anything drive you internally to maybe put a little more into your character?
Right. I mean, like you said, culture is such a strong thing, and you can't, especially when your grandparents had been following the same culture, and then your parents, and then you, there are certain things that are expected from you, like my grandparents. I mean, my grandmother, she got married when she was 9 years old, and then my parents had an arranged marriage. Of course, things are different for me. I'm not married yet, and I have a say as to who I'm going to marry. But at the same time, there's a little bit of tradition passed down where, my parents, I think they would want to pick a guy for me, you know what I mean? Just to follow that tradition. I don't know, culture is just it's such a strong thing, and I've seen that all around me, and it's such a it's kind of a struggle for a lot of people in my family too, just to adjust in this new culture that we are in, at the same time not break away completely from where we come from, because
can I interject something here?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then arranged marriage thing, Guy. In our family, clan, tribe, I gotta say, more of the marriages that have been arranged are still together, and fewer of the marriages where, it was an ad hoc thing. They found each other, blah blah blah.
Are they happy?
Yes, my parents are very happy.
Well,
I can't speak for everybody, but.
So given that
the one example that I know, my parents, they're very happy.
Now, your grandparents, your grandmother was married at 9 years old?
Right.
And how old was the husband?
My grandfather, he was 12, 13. So they were both kids, but she didn't move into his house until she was like 15.
Okay.
But the thing is, she was promised to him, at an early age, but she didn't move into his house until later on.
So now having heard your story, it's very interesting that you're not having any backlash regarding the topic, or is there any backlash
From her parents, you mean?
Correct.
Or family?
From her parents, correct.
No, backlash is in.
Well, in terms of you're going into a certain territory that is tradition for your elders,
But you know what? Tradition, it changes, and that's what I think this movie is about as well. The more people know, the more. Because my parents have been here for 12 years now, so it's not like, oh, this is how it was done with your grandparents, so this is how it's going to be done with you. No, culture, it's like I said, there's certain aspects that you hold on to, but at the same time, you change and you move on. You move on with the time, And this movie, I think it just, movies like these are what change people and change people's minds.
Agreed. So, Felix, give me a scenario in regards to, say, an actor or an actress that declined to be involved, and their reasons for that, and how long was that conversation? Did they?
There were several of them where, we had auditioned them, and then when I made it clear. It was like, if I was interested in you for the part, I certainly sent you the script. Because I didn't want any last-minute, problems that way. I wanted you to know what we were doing and what we were going after. And I would say two of the one Mr. Abdul, walked away very early, and then tried to come back onto the project afterwards. And Mr. Sharif. He read the thing and said, "I love it, but I'm not doing it. You're crazy." The first lead actress was when we auditioned her and we tested her out. She tested great, and we thought she could do the role. It might have been difficult for her, but when it came down to when she actually saw what the role was about, within a week she was done. She was scared.
Interesting.
Not because of the subject matter also, but the intensity of the character. And it wasn't half of it, I would say, had to do with the subject matter, but a lot more had to do with the character Farina itself. Because once you really start reading it and get into it, you see that this is quite a wide character with many things she's trying to work out.
So tell me more about the characters. Let's talk about Nienta's role. Tell me Tell me about that character.
Well, Nienta is a character that she's first generation here. She's come fresh off the boat, and even though she has been brought up, educated to a certain degree, and stuff like that, the whole culture shock is very apparent. I wanted to show what the culture shock is to people coming here, especially now. Because there have been other immigration movies and stuff, but it was the run-of-the-mill, but nothing I saw showed the actual impact on the person, And here, you see Farina, she's well-educated, she's quite varied, she's got a green thumb, she takes care of stuff, but is still stuck almost, she might as well have been living in India in the village. To that degree, she's stuck in a certain way. So it didn't really matter whether she was in India or here, her situation was going to be very similar.
Let me ask you this question, then we can segue back into that. How many men and women from India or other parts of the world where arranged marriage is still happening, those individuals that now reside in the U.S., how many of those individuals stay true to their culture on a percentage basis, just a rough percentage basis?
By culture, what do you mean? I mean,
Well,
like,
if I'm from
you're
India,
here, you're gonna
if I'm from India, I've got friends from India, and they come here, and whether it's whether they work at Microsoft or they work at at a high tech company or any company for that matter, and as the longer they stay here in America, they start to realize how loose we are in terms of culture, and they start to break loose from some of the norms they grew up around.
Yes, no, that's what I was saying. I mean, you can't come here. It doesn't matter who it is. You cannot come here and not have this culture change you. Because there are great things about this that, free us. It's not like when we came from India, we dropped everything that was our Indian culture and just picked up. Some people we've seen try to do that, and they just kind of went insane. But you drop some of the things that are burdensome about Indian culture, and then you pick up some of the other things that are nicer about the American culture. It's a different mix. I mean, even our weddings, right? Okay, we came here. The whole Indian wedding is a 5-day affair, and it's really fun, But we came here, and, the American wedding is a whole different thing. We still, said, oh, well, just throw that in as part of the wedding. And so now it became a 6-day affair.
Now I'm going to segue you back into Michael Irby. Tell me about his character and what role he plays in this film.
He, in a way, is like the American view and the glue. He's the glue to the love story, and he's the American perspective. He gives that fresh American perspective to what is happening to his friend. While he still cheers him on and stuff, initially he's just like, what the hell, what are you doing here? But then once he sees that his friend is serious, he actually investigates and finds out all the things that are going on in that culture and tradition, and talks about it. And actually, in his own way, connects to it.
So the last time we spoke,
let's put it this way: Josh is fascinated by Farina and yet frightened of her, because she's fascinated at the fact that she brings such a fresh approach to a way of living, but at the same time, that same force frightens him because what a change would require in his life. Because Farina is all about green and eating what you kill, growing what you eat, and living in that kind of environment, and that comes naturally to her. Whereas to American boys, that whole thing is foreign. She's not used to buying meat at a store, and they're not used to having meat killed before you eat.
Nayante, what challenges did you have during the filming of this movie, if any?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, there were in terms of the character, there were a lot of challenges for me to. Farina, she's very complex, So just to get into that fully, to understand every layer of her, I had to give that some time. To fully understand her.
Felix, now we spoke a little while ago again, and you had mentioned something that had happened to you as a boy that stuck to your core.
The core of our film is not only the incidents that I witnessed, but also the follow-up story to it that I heard, which I don't know whether it was true or not, but later that was the rumor that went around. I saw the stoning, and then a few days later I heard that it was because this Muslim girl had fallen in love with a Christian boy.
There's a lot of that going on right now in the world. As you know, it's rampant. Whether it's Muslims are killing Christians, and Christians are not necessarily killing Muslims, but there's that whole turmoil thing going on, and this whole arranged marriage thing. It makes it really sticky. So it'll be interesting to see where the future lies in terms of humanity settling into itself.
I think that I would say from my experience of it, as long as we leave these tribal folks uneducated, this kind of brutality is going to continue. But once you introduce education and other forms of looking at the world, I've clearly seen people, I have personally seen people change to such a degree that I'm like, whoa, okay, if this can happen to this person, then I suspect to every person on the planet that believes education could change them.
So how is an arranged marriage? How does it work if you're married at 9 or 10 years old and you want to get out of that arranged marriage? What do the dynamics of that look like?
Divorce. Right now, it's that easy. Divorce is easier in India than in the U.S. right now. Part of that is, I think, a big chunk of the women populace in India getting educated and coming out of the colleges and stuff. And the more of that's happening, the more these kind of laws are being enacted.
I think things are changing very fast.
Yeah. No, in 2000.
Not to say that one way is right and the other one's wrong, but it's just about freedom, pretty much,
No, I agree.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, freedom to decide what you want as an individual.
In 2001, I knew 2 people that were divorced when I visited the city that I grew up in. It was 2 of my aunt's friends. And when I went in 2008, I think it was, it was a casual thing. And then I inquired and I found out that the law is such that in India now, if a woman wants a divorce, she gets it immediately, plus pretty much a lifetime support as to however she's been taken care of up until that point.
Now, it was my understanding that women's rights in India they're getting a lot better, but, as of 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, women's rights were pretty much non-existent in terms of being heard in the court system. It sounds like things have done a 360 possibly?
Yeah, well, see, the thing of it is that, in some areas they tend to move fast, and in other areas they tend to move slow. Same thing here. What's happening is the social change is so much that the court is trying to catch up. The court system is trying to catch up. But socially it has become so acceptable and okay that now the courts are simply having to switch gears and try to catch up if they are to become a better nation, and they seem to be doing it. Especially since, this last bus rape, I would say, I'm sorry the incident happened, of course, but I would say since then, I've seen several changes, not just in the judicial system, but also in the policing system, about the handling of these cases.
Unfortunately, it always takes an act of a very bad thing to happen for someone to be the sacrificial lamb. So, for lack of a better way of putting it, how do you think the film will be received in India? Will Indian distributors, will they be, more apt to pass or pick up the film?
I think it would go this way, because, see, we were not really an Indian film. We're not really a Hollywood film. I think it would be decided by what the international and American market says, how the Indian market will receive it.
Okay.
If the American market is even semi-enthusiastic about it, I believe the Indian audience will flock to it.
No, I agree.
But by flock to it, we're talking about, there's 3 tiers they call in film in India: the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is the well-educated, well-read, college-educated. Tier 2 is, high school educated, and tier 3 is everybody. I don't know if this film will reach tier 3, but I certainly hope that we conquer a good chunk of tier 1.
So what do you know about Bollywood? And that's a huge market over there in India.
Oh, man, it is a whole different world and a whole different ball game.
Is that something that will gel well with this type of a film? I mean, getting into that type of a theatrical system?
Yeah, because they are looking for content that's opening up to these kind of things. Really, Bollywood itself is changing right now. And I am trying to bridge Hollywood and Bollywood. I mean, in this film, one of the chief things, other than story and all of that I tried to aim for was to get the American audience to appreciate a Bollywood song. So I tried to integrate it as part of the story much closer, so that they could see how it kind of works. But at the same time, I didn't go so overboard that the American audience was going to get lost. The European audience is already more used to that kind of thing. And oddly enough, in India, they're going more away from that. But either way, my thing was somebody said, a true romantic story cannot be written in the modern age because there's no forces of opposition. Parents don't object to girls dating and things like that. And so when that challenge stuck in my mind, and then this story popped in my being, I said, I can kill two birds with one stone.
So where do you two see arranged marriages in the next 10 to 15 years? I mean, on a realistic scale.
I see it happening more. It's happening a lot here in the U.S. You just don't call it arranged marriages. You call it, what are those website things called, Nianta?
I don't know.
It's just seeking help, when you...
I mean, in China, they're paying people... hundreds, if not millions of yuan to find a decent bride, okay? Here, people pay on websites and stuff $30 a month or 20. I've seen many clients talk to that are going, and they're looking for a mate on these sites. Executives now hire a woman to find them a mate. Would we not say that's arranged marriages?
That is true to a point. I guess
a form of it, yeah.
A form of it.
Right.
I think we're looking at.
I mean, there were several reasons. Monetary was one. The other was bloodline, and the third was so that invaders did not run off with all their young brides.
Hey, you know what? Let's touch on that because that's a very interesting scenario. Back up a little bit and maybe articulate for those that are listening how that whole arranged marriage thing came about, because that is a very interesting point.
Well, when the first several thousand years ago, actually now, when the Persians and the Mughal Empire and the Muslims invaded from Arabia, and they kept pushing further and further into India. At that time, India was the richest nation. They had many. I mean, the Taj Mahal was encrusted in gems, and nobody thought twice about it. It was that kind of environment, and the invaders would come, and as usual, especially the Muslim and Persian invaders. One of the things that they were very good about was they did not touch any married woman. They were very reverential towards married women. But young maidens and virgins, they would either take and keep as concubines or wives or, spoils of battle. To circumvent this, the Hindus came up with the thing of arranging the marriage after the child was 5, because then it had survived long enough to live, to the possibility of living a long life. Thus, the marriage was arranged so that the girl need not suffer consequences of invaders. And as time went on, that took on more of a religious context. But still, really, that's all it was. It was simply to protect the young maidens from the invaders.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
You did not know that, Nayanta?
No, I didn't know the history. I just thought it was religious. But I didn't know there was actually a reason behind it,
Yeah.
Sometimes you think religion is just for no reason. They just blindly follow one rule. but then you find out there's actually a history behind it, how certain things came about.
If you weren't married and you didn't wear the certain chain with a certain amulet around your neck, then to the Persians and Muslims, you're free game. They nabbed you and took you.
I think it's very interesting how things like that happen, and for lack of a better way of putting it, for selfish reasons, you extend that out about 500 to 600 years for your own personal gain in terms of getting something that you think you want. If I'm very attracted to a certain young lady, and I know by default I could very easily make her my wife. I mean, there has to be two parties wanting the same thing. That's what love is all about, right? 1 and 1 is 2. Yeah. So I find it very interesting how that transcends through the years and still is in place. And so, but I think it's going to be a great film, and I think it'll chip away at a lot of old ways of thinking and traditions. And I think you'll put that whole arranged marriage thing on under the spotlight.
If anything, we're planning on bringing the tradition here, Guy.
Okay. So you're bringing the tradition here to the U.S.
Yeah, we're gonna hook you up with a decent bride. We know exactly the one you're gonna want. Don't even worry about it. You don't need to see a picture. Just show up on the day. It's a scary thing, Guy.
Well, it is a scary thing, especially when you start talking about human beings. I mean, everybody is their own individual. Some have a passion of being an actor, some have a passion of being an attorney, et cetera, but that's their passion, that's their life. And to tell someone how they are going to live their life is an atrocity into itself. Niyante, what are your plans moving forward? Tell me a little bit about your history, and what have you done, and what do you plan on doing in this big city called Los Angeles?
Oh, God, I just want to be an actress. Yeah, that's just my goal. I've been training a lot for like 2.5 years. Like I trained at Playhouse West and this little studio called New Collective. Just like get the training straight, like solid training, So yeah, that's my goal. Just like act, and hopefully like this movie was such a great opportunity for me. In terms of I learned everything in 1 month, everything that I needed to know as an actress, or I learned more in 1 month than I did in like 2 years of like training.
Sounds like you've been given quite the history lesson, even on this show, learning things about your own culture, because it sounds as if you've been in the United States for a while.
Right. No, well, I moved here when I was 12.
12, okay.
But also, like, my family is my family is pretty liberal, compared to others, I would say. So a lot of it was new to me, to be honest. So a lot of it, I had to say, oh my God, really, really? And then it sunk in more and more, to the point where I was like, okay, this is real. Like, I didn't have to go through this. I'm not having to go through this. But there are others, people just like me, who went through this and who are going through this. So it became more and more real.
Well, I heard a story about a young lady who moved over here from India, and the brother and the father tried to run her over in a car in a local mall in Dallas, Texas, I believe, because she refused to marry. Yeah.
I've heard stories as well. Yeah, just like I've heard stories like that too.
Tell me one. Yeah. Give me a story.
I think we're going to hear more and more.
Give me one story.
Well, one of them was, and I cannot verify this. It was just like a story told to me by someone else. This girl, actually in Canada, she fell in love with a Canadian guy, and her brothers took her back to their native country, and I don't remember what country it was. They took her back and told everyone what she had been doing, so they stoned her.
Yes, I heard that one too. I heard that one.
Uh-huh.
And the other one I heard was also Canada, where the family drove two of the girls into a canal and drowned them. That is going to trial, I think.
How long ago was that?
That's in Canada, somewhere in Toronto or something like that. I have all these links. I have links to, I would say, about 15 or 20 cases going on just around here.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely amazing. Now I've got a couple more questions. What is the political climate like in India in regards to arranged marriages? I mean, if I am a politician in India and I am a free thinker and I am going to go away from this arranged marriage concept, is there a political backlash for something like that?
You don't even bring that up. It's the same thing as that is like saying here's how religion and state are supposed to be separate. There too they have a similar issue. So it's a sticky point. You certainly could be in trouble if you bring it up.
No, absolutely, because ultimately the masses, in theory, put you in political office. And if and to back up a little bit, India is set up based on a class system. Would you say that the very well educated in India are still following the arranged marriage system as well as the second or third class citizens?
And the breakdown is across all sectors, and the arranged marriage is followed across all sectors. Like if you're thinking that some of the more educated classes are doing it less, that wasn't necessarily true. They're about doing it all the same. It is only as they get more urbanized that it's becoming less.
And I think there's different forms of it as well. Online dating here, like Felix talked about, going to someone else for help to help you find someone is pretty much a form of arranged marriage. Go seeking help from someone else, like a third party, and not finding someone yourself, let's say. So I think there's different forms of it, as in, let's say your parents help you out. If you're at the age of to be married and you haven't found someone yourself, then your parents, let's say if you're a guy, they find a girl for you, and then you kind of date her for a while, see if you're compatible, and then if not, you have every right to say no. Like, I've heard those as well. It's not like you're forced someone. They force someone on you, and you have to marry them whether you like them or not. No, you're given the opportunity to date for a while to see if you're compatible, to see if you can spend the rest of your life with them. And if not, then saying no is an option. Like, I've heard of those as well.
Right. Well, sometimes, the Match.coms of the world is, I guess you could compare that to like a vending machine, right? You put in your money.
Something like that.
You put in your money. You touch the buttons. You say, "Oh, I like that one. I like that one. I like that one." Anyways, but that's obviously. I think obviously the online stuff is more along the lines of giving you more control over making that first step. And I'm sure I know, as we all know on this phone, that there are different variations of that. Some far more, some are far more aggressive, and some are far to the left.
Yeah.
So
it's never black and white. Nothing is ever black and white. If I've learned anything from this movie, it's nothing is ever just black and white. There's so many grays. Yeah.
Well, look, I want to thank the both of you for showing up at the Guy Boudreau Radio Show on such short notice. I wish you continued success, and if there's anything we can do here at the show to help promote the movie, we absolutely will do that. Thanks again for joining us here at the Guy Boudreau Radio Show. If you've missed any previous shows, feel free to find us on TuneIn Radio, Stitcher Radio, and iTunes. Again, I'm Guy Boudreau. This is Anything and Everything. Have a blessed week. Goodbye.
Righteous. Yeah, I'm hoping for a gray sky, so I can hide from the Creator's eyes. Selfish I'm not, but selfless I've been. Take me back, my God, so I can begin again. Because I become righteous, so righteous, yes. Yeah, I become righteous. So righteous, I guess. This is where I really want to be. My eyes have grown clear from looking out across the sea, waiting for my ship to come in. What love to take me back so I can begin again. Because I become righteous, so righteous, yes. Yeah, I become righteous, so righteous, I guess. Are we all created equal? Then why one man's so empty while another man's dog is so full? Let's stop imagining, let's not pretend, oh la la, that we are all equally threatened. Don't you all want some of that justice? Oh la la. Or is that just for those who wish to bust us? Oh la la. Don't you all want some of that justice? Oh la la. Or is that just for those who wish to break us? Oh la la. We got to think like Muhammad, walk like a Moses, laugh like a Buddha, talk like a Jesus, feeling Bob Marvelous. Yeah, I'm hoping for a gray sky, so I can hide from the Creator's eyes. Selfish I'm not, but selfless I've been. Take me back, my God, so I can begin again. Because we become righteous, so righteous, yes. Yeah, we become righteous, so righteous, I guess. Yeah, we become righteous, so righteous, I guess. Oh la la, yeah, we become righteous, so righteous, I guess. We are a consumptive, consumeristic, indifferent populace with hands too full to make a fist. We're an arrogant species with superficial ideas and beliefs that are less than loveless. We're part of the answer. Most of the problem starts with me and you, and then it ends up them. We give for our conscience, never to make a difference. Now go, be honest, but most of all, be righteous, yes. Yeah, I'm hoping for a gray sky, so I can hide from the Creator's eyes. Selfish I'm not, but selfless I've been. Take me back, my God, so I can begin again. Because I become righteous, so righteous, yes. Yeah, we become righteous, so righteous, I guess. Yeah, we become righteous, so righteous, yes. Yeah, we become righteous, so righteous, I guess. We got to think like Muhammad, walk like a Moses, laugh like a Buddha, talk like a Jesus, feeling Bob Marvelous.